views and comments of the hosts and guests are not necessarily those of the station.
Mga kapugad, ito po si Attorney Darwin Cañete. Inaanyayahan ko po kayong manood at makinig sa aming programang Pugad Vloggers dito po sa DZRJ 810 AM Radyo Bandido TV.
Watch and listen to Pugad Vloggers Monday to Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Airing on Sky Cable Channel 224 and on all DTT boxes. Simulcasting online on Facebook and YouTube. Listen and watch on your mobile devices. Just search DZRJ Radio Bandido.
Pugad Vloggers, ako raming titirisin, sa loob sa bayan wawalisin, walang sasantuhin, ang saya-saya, nakakabaliw, kasama natin ang tropang Pugad Vloggers. Pugad Vloggers.
Ayan! Good evening mga kapugad. This is Attorney Darwin Cañete. I'll be your host for the Wednesday edition of Pugad Vloggers. Sa mga sumusubaybay sa amin, kami po ay masusundan ninyo bukod dito sa aming radio station, DZRJ Radio Bandido 810 AM. Kami rin po ay simulcast, no? Dito po sa Facebook and YouTube. So, like and share and subscribe lang po kayo sa amin at malaking bagay po na kayo ay sumusunod sa aming mga social media accounts bukod sa aming mga kanya-kanyang personal social media accounts, no? Anyway, good evening sa inyo. Ang topic pong gusto kong pag-usapan ngayong gabi ay tungkol dito sa announcement na sa ngayong darating na summer ang ating panahon ay maapektuhan ng tinatawag na El Nino. No, we are talking about unprecedented levels of heat. Talagang tataas daw po lalo ang init na mararamdaman natin sa dakong summer. Bukod na yon, meron po tayong balita na yung dalang ng mga pag-ulan ay medyo babawas, no? We will have less rainfall and less water to expect, no? So, paano yan ngayon? What are we now supposed to do, mga kapugad? Because that creates a whole lot of problems for us dito, no? Number one, para sa ating mga power needs, I'm sure na in order to manage the heat, marami sa ating mga opisina at mga kabahayan ay mag-i-increase ng gamit ng kuryente mula doon sa simpleng pagpapalamig ng tubig hanggang sa gagamitin air condition or electric fan. So that will of course increase our consumption of electricity. And as you know, yung law of supply and demand, kapag tayo po ay kumukonsumo ng malaki at limitado ang supply ng langis or kuryente, that is a signal, no, for the increase of prices. So, nandun tayo. Now, hindi din natin ma-predict yung lagay ng kondisyon, no, sa maraming gulo na nangyayari sa mundo. We're talking about the volatility of countries' conflict areas. Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa na-resolve yung mga conflict mula sa Ukraine hanggang sa Gaza. Hindi rin natin alam ang escalation ng galaw ng US versus China. Hindi rin natin alam ang instability na dinadala ng mga issue sa Estados Unidos tulad ng parating na eleksyon nila. Hindi rin natin alam kung meron pang sasiklab na gulo elsewhere, no? So, we are talking about escalating tensions and problems in the world. which all affect the price, the movement of prices, the movement of commodities, the movement of essential goods and services. So, bukod pa dyan, because it's an environmental issue, hindi rin natin alam ang epekto nito sa aking agrikultura and fisheries. Whether or not this very, very expected heat that is coming and pagbaba ng rainfall will negatively affect our crop production. Nandun na yung pagkain, yung mga pinapalaking mga hayop na kakainin, mga palaisdaan natin na magsisituyuan, no? It creates a lot of problems also. So these are environmental problems that is going to be brought by El Nino. Now, I don't know kung anong gagawin ng government by way of mitigation. I'm sure they will expect that they need to create buffer stocks of food and commodities dahil habang mababa ang presyo, magkakaroon ng panahon ng ating pamahalaan na mag-stock habang hindi pa masyado tumataas ang presyo ng bilihin. But when the time comes, when the El Nino season comes in, and we do not know how long it will be, ayan na. We will be hit with surging prices of goods and commodities. So, hindi ko naman kayo na-alarma mga kababayan, mga kapugad, pero the government has already provided us with a warning, no? And part of the thing to mitigate the effects of negative news is to prepare for it. Maging handa po tayo na they will be coming into the lean months. There will be, reduction of goods and services by way of our crops, access to water, diba? So this early pa lang mga kapugad, I would suggest if you are capable, you should have ability to store large number or large volume of water for your personal needs. Asahan nyo na yan. Kung wala kayong mga tangke sa bahay, mga, paraan, kasi I'm sure, dalawa ang haharapin natin in case there will be effects, no, of El Nino. Number one, of course, is rolling blackouts. Kung napaka-limited ng ating ability to generate power, magtataas ang konsumo ng power. Kung hindi kakayanin ng grids natin, nangyari sa, the supply simply is not there. Diba? So what will happen? Rolling brownouts. So, yung magpo-forecast ng kanilang mga business projections for the next few months, I suggest you factor in the possibility of brownouts. Hopefully, kakayanin ng ating, but factor it in. Number two, scarcity of water. Kung bawat household sana, if, while the supply is there, is able to store water, maganda yon. Because, there might be periods in which the supply of water is simply not there. Na because of El Nino, look, understand, this is nothing, the government has little to do with our climate change. That is a planet-wide problem. Problema ng buong planeta yan. And we cannot simply, in our little spot of the planet, control the weather. No, it comes from so many factors. Andiyan na yan. And no billions of budget will be able to change that. So tanggapin na natin that it will be a problem that we will face. So, nandiyan na tayo. Climate change, El Nino. In terms of mitigation, diba, iplano na natin na kukonti ang supply ng tubig, maging prioridad natin yung clean drinking water. Diba? We are a country that is an archipelago. Hindi tayo dapat ang problema sa tubig, but here we are. Why? Well, simply because ang ating resources of water, 'di ba, are number one, marami sa ating mga sources of water are drying up. The population is simply too big to be sustainable. Marami tayo masyadong Pilipino, 100 million plus. And considering our sources of water and land area, pati yung lack of planning in land use, yung rational talaga na land use, we don't even have a land use law. That's simply basic. And it creates, maraming problema talaga ang dinadala niyang lack of a land use law. Number one, the development is uncontrolled. Number two, walang rationalization sa, walang niha in terms of what is industrial, commercial, and residential. So, yung distribution ng resources is all over the place. Number three, some of our built areas, mga watershed pa. Maraming mga lupa natin na dapat ginagawang reserve para daluyan at store ng tubig na fresh and potable, magiging reservoir natin, ay natatayuan, na-develop, nagiging residential. It has severe environmental consequences without a land use law. So that's the problem. These are addressable concerns. These are things that should have been taken care of a long time, and without exception, even kung fan ako ng isang leader or not, they're all responsible because it's still a continuing problem. Di ba? So, collective na yan. We have not made those kinds of issues at the forefront. We are discussing ephemeral issues. Puro mga identity politics, kung sino ang sayo, anong kulay mo. But we have not addressed the long-standing issues related to common development, common welfare. Very basic, land use law, zoning, environmental, conservation. We have allowed people, naintindi natin, di ba? Pinasabi nila, mahirap lang tayo, di ba? Kanya-kanya yan, look after yourself. Ang problema lang diyan, predatory yung dating masyado, and the fact that it's so predatory, or talagang competition, dog eat dog ang dating, there's been no common policy that is good for everybody. Will always favor one or the other. Doon nagsisimulang all other social problems. But again, I don't want to veer into those kinds of, talk muna at this point because I don't want to hijack my own topic. But tingnan natin dito, mga kapugad, the weather will be coming April, May, June, July, mga ganun, no? And El Nino, as announced by the government, is coming. You have to, look after yourself at this point because andyan na eh. Nothing at this point the government will do except siguro yung minor sinasabi nilang patchwork solutions. Ano bang usual solutions na binibigay ng gobyerno during these times na may drought, may lack of water, di ba? Cloud seeding. Yan. But you see, yung sa Amerika, Los Angeles, for example, they're suffering from drought. Diba? Environmental. Ginagawa nila is they're putting all these, parang graphene balls, yung parang plastic na malalaking bola to protect the evaporation of the rivers and lakes. Diba? Isa yun eh. Sa iniisip ko dun eh. Why is there no concerted effort to preserve or at least strengthen our supply of water? Tuwing mga rainy season, in the few rainy seasons that marami tayo doon. We even had massive floods. Nagre-release ng tubig ng ating mga dams. Bakit? Dahil ang capacity nila is na overflow. 'Di ba? But, nasasayangan ako sa tubig na tinatapon na yun eh. Why not, have more dams to store those water? Kasi kailangan natin yun, long term. Why not dig deeper? Ba't hindi dumadami ang ating water reservoirs? Bakit palaging nangunguna ang real estate speculation? Aminin natin, 'di ba? Dahil sa kapos tayo sa lupa, even a villain like Lex Luthor in the Superman movies knows this. Na real estate, malaking bagay yan, pagkakaperahan yan. Ang problema dyan, the unbridled building, 'di ba, human factor, nawawala yung or naapektuhan yung condition ng ating environment. So here we are, mga kapugad, El Nino. So aside from seeding, anong gagawin ng gobyerno? The usual. Water and electric conservation. Diba? So, sa mga may mga pera, they have many ways to go around that problem. Pwede silang maglagay ng mga storage ng tubig tulad ng mga tangke, their pools, their basins. Ang alam ko, like for example, my own house in Davao City, we have a very large water tank. Diba? So kahit if we can probably mitigate mga 1 or 2 hours of siguro 1 or 2 days of no water, kakayanin namin. Diba? So many businesses will be affected, mga kapugad. We have laundry services. Yung mga mineral water businesses. So, those will be affected. Diba? So it's time, I think, we need to plan. Magtayo ng ano bang facilities ang kailangan natin to meet the demands of our residents in Metro Manila and other areas in the Philippines. Diba? Sa Metro Manila, wala tayong masyadong mga ilog dito. Meron tayo, the big Pasig River, but, it's not even a source of potable water. It's, nabuhay kahit papaano, no? Pero, again, we're talking about having to meet the needs of millions of Filipinos living in the city. Diba? Ay, nako. Frustrating. But, now that mga kapugad, siguro, think about what you can do now. Yung iba dyan, ginagawa yung, advice ng biblical advice. The prosperous years will be mag-ipon ka para pag lean years meron kang may lalabas. Same thing, if you can now, ngayon pa lang, the communities, in Metro Manila, if you can have some sort of centralized or some sort of community well, or hindi naman community well, sabi na natin community water source. Yung hindi na mahirap na pipila pa kayo sa mga water trucks para makuha ng tubig. 'Di ba? Hindi na kailangang ikutan yung mga community should have some sort of storage kung hindi naman pwede sa individual houses. Para hindi kayo naubusan ng tubig pag nagka-cut off. Now, for those who are critical, they really need electricity like hospitals. Alam niyo na siguro or meron na siguro kayong backup strategy which is to have a generator. Diba? So, yun. I'm not being alarmist. I'm just, ano yan eh. It's, tawag nito. Yung balita, lumabas pa dito eh. Diba? Ito sa Inquirer, fewer cyclones forecast for Philippines in 2024 due to El Nino. The source was certain Analisa Solis of the Pag-asa Climate Monitoring Division. Sabi niya, the country may see only 13 to 19 tropical cyclones. Diba? In 2023, only 2011 made landfall or came close to the Philippines, no? Yun. So sabi nila, way below normal to way below rainfall conditions are likely over most parts of Luzon, Visayas, Northern Mindanao, Bangsamoro, and Zamboanga by January. And by the end of the month, the provinces of Benguet, Kalinga, Apayao, Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, La Union, Pangasinan, Cagayan, Bataan, Nueva Ecija, Tarlac, Zambales, Cavite, and Palawan may experience drought. We're not just talking about lack or minimal water, mga kapugad. We're talking about drought. That's a very heavy word to use in a press release, no? At sabi dito, sabi ng chief pag-asa expert, 2024 may be one of the warmest years on record. So we will be gunning for a record breaking. Hindi lang, it's not even a normal phenomena. On average, it's not even an average run-of-the-mill El Nino. We're talking about record breaking. Yeah. So, this early pa lang, you invest in mitigating strategies. Kasi, as early as February, ayan na. It will hit. No? Ang ito kasi sa weather is you cannot, like natural phenomena, yung mga natural na nangyayari, you cannot pray to it. You cannot beg. Yung ba pakiusapan yan? It's a natural phenomena. Wala kang dedelensya, you're not gonna bribe anybody to change the circumstance. It is what it is, mga kapugad. So, the intelligent thing to do is accept that it will happen and then think of a way around it. Diba? Hindi mo naman pwedeng takbuhan yung weather because it covers such a wide area. There's no safe place or unaffected place in the country. Lahat yan, given the, relatively speaking, sa liit ng bayan natin, talagang ang tatamaan sa Maynila, tatamaan sa Davao, and vice versa. Diba? Kasi we're talking about, in weather terms, talagang malaki yung area yung makakover niyan, geographically speaking. So anyway, tingnan natin itong nandito sa ating DZRJ webpage. No? A lot of people are joining us now. Shout out tayo dito sa ating mga kasama. Roxanne Costo, Crespo Carlex, Dennis Conrubia, Ugay Raul. Right. So, sabi ni so good evening sa inyo lahat. Thank you for joining us in our program tonight, no? So, Ugay Raul, alam mo, attorney, lahat na dam may spillway yan. Ibig sabihin, natatapon lang po ang sobrang tubig. Hindi kailangan na magbukas ng steel gate ang mga dam. Yes, that's correct. Diba? There's a spillway. Ang sa akin lang is, bakit nag-over, pag may rainfall, nag-over capacity. So, ibig sabihin, kaya pang tumanggap kasi sayang yung tubig, dapat na-store pa yun kasi bababa din yun eventually sa gamit. Yun ang iniisip ko eh. Nasasayangan na ako sa mga natatapong tubig sa spillway. Yung 'Di ba? Oh, on the other hand, it makes certain sinasabi nilang prone to baha areas a bit safer to buy and invest in this year. Kasi, diba, makapagtayo ka dahil yun na nga, El Nino. So, the chances of baha is lesser. Diba? But like I said, no, andun na yung effect. We will be facing so much. Magkakaroon ng, so kailangan natin ng mitigation, kailangan natin ng konting, well, number one, kailangan natin yung wag ubusin yung ating mga disaster relief funds, yung mga ating mga confidential, yung mga discretionary funds. Because for sure, pag tama ng El Nino, daming mga kailangan ng ayuda. Real ayuda, hindi lang hindi lang yung in the course of just, you know, parang free money or tulong lang or ganun, di ba? We're talking about real emergency help because nga maraming domino effect yan. Di ba? So again, we're talking about forecasting. Ano yung total effect? Ano yung percentage ng population natin will need mitigation sa effects ng weather? Saan ang ita-target natin na number one, kung pwede pa nating ma-mitigate ngayon pa lang. Ibig sabihin, we build water storage facilities or some sort of new plants, mga bagong planta ng kuryente because I'm sure the use of electricity nangyari na, di ba? What happened in Iloilo? Iloilo ba yun? Yes. Where there was no power for many days. Multiply that with the large areas affected by El Nino because hindi kakayanin ng load ang increased use of aircons, electricity, electric fans, mga ganon, no? Cooling o refrigerator na lang just to store our food from rotting due to the heat. Maraming gulay natin that need storage sa malalamig na area because they come from Baguio or Benguet, di ba? In fact, right now, you don't even need to wait for that, no? Ano pa lang pagbaba pa lang ng gulay sa Metro Manila, hirap na di ba? Yung iba, ano na lang binubulok na lang which is puzzling, no? Di bumababa ang presyo ng gulay because the middlemen are hoarding it and then laying it waste para mabenta nila ng mas mahal sa mga supermarket. You know, we have price fixing. It will get worse. Di ba? So yun, you're going to need, you know, the existence needs of 100 million Filipinos. How they're going to do that in the middle of El Nino? So, yun. I'm sure there's a plan. Kaya lang, with or without government plan, kayong mga kapugad, like me, di ba, better be prepared. Be vigilant. Think ahead or project ahead. Huwag na kayong umasa sa government because the government will have to triage yan Alam mo yung triage? Triage yung gagamutin mo muna yung may pinakamalalang sakit. If you are not the one that is the worst off, hindi ka ang pinakakawawa, unlikely makakatanggap ka ng tulong kasi unahin talaga ang mas pinakakawawa sa'yo. Para sa sugat yan, sa field surgery, di ba? Ba't uunahin yung ubo kaysa naman naputulan ng paa, nasabugan ng kamay? Those are the emergency cases. Triage. Dahil there's not enough money to go around. There's not enough resources to spread. That is the reality of government. Diba? Umasa din sa tax collection ng gobyerno. Kung konti ang collection, mangungutang. And then the next year, babayaran yung utang. Kung konti yung naman ang, diba? It's a cycle. If you are forced to get into debt to meet your budget. Kaya ako nainis minsan sa mga nag-over budget You know, the reason why we really need to hold in budget, yung hindi mo na pwedeng gastusan ngayon, is because hindi naman infinite yung tresurero ng bayan. Manggagaling din yan sa buwis natin. And like any good budgeting, di ba, the concept is where your money has the most value and the most wealth, most return, doon mo ipapasok yung pera mo. More bang for the buck. Yun gusto natin, di ba? Sulit. Ibig sabihin, sulit. Hindi tayo nangunguripot, hindi tayo nagtitipid. Ang gusto natin, pag gumastos tayo, may balik na mas maganda. We always aim to have our money get its worth. Kaya yung mga gastusing, hindi, wag natin including ninakaw. Sabihin na natin yung mga overpriced, yung mga walang kwentang itemization sa budget natin. Diba? Ganun yan eh. And I think this year, we need that more than ever. That expenses that are not critical, diba, should be set aside. Medyo defer muna natin ang mga, sabi na natin, existential issues. Yung mga nagiging mainit lang dahil nagdedebate ang politika. But in terms of actual impact sa ating kababayan at ating mga nangangailangan ng tulong, halos wala naman. Diba? Sana yun ang magiging mindset natin, triage. We need a doctor's mindset to our leadership. Yun ang, I'm not saying that there's none. I'm just saying that now more than ever, ang ating, when we are focused on environmental impacts like this one, na helpless tayo because it's Mother Nature ang kalaban natin, diba? Kalaban natin mismo yung kalikasan. And who can appeal, who can argue with nature? Wala. There's no court. There's no reasoning. You either accept it or die. Basic. So, ganon. So, when it comes to this, wala kang magagawa dahil andyan na yan, diba? Medyo tigil-tigilan mo muna yung mga pasobra. Focus on essentials because the effects is life and death. Wala tayong masyadong room for error. Diba? Ilan ang namamatay sa heat stroke? Ilan ang namamatay sa gutom? Ilang negosyong babagsak because of El Nino? Those are preventable or, you can plan around it. Diba? Kung forecasted na yan, if it's forecastable, projectable, the warning is given to us as early as January or even longer, diba? I think this news was probably as early as December. So what now? Kung February, March, April pa yan, what can we do wouldn't we treat the next 60 days as some sort of emergency period in order to meet or to create a response to the upcoming climate misfortune? May batas naman tayo yung disaster reduction law. Parang ganun yun I forgot the full name. No? Panahon pa yan meron sa, I'm a lawyer. So, a lot of you know that. I'm not flinging that title in your face. But, merong kaming, concept of foreseeability. Kung anticipate, pwedeng i-anticipate o project yung isang event, you will be held responsible for it. Depende sa kontrata mo. Diba? And we do have a contract with government. It is the contract they govern with the government na you look after us. You have weather experts. We have Pag-asa. We have our own weather bureau. You have planning, bodies. We have the NEDA. These are all components of one government. And one informs the other because these are decision-making factors. Pag magpo-project ka sa taon, ito yung mangyari sa taon, factor in mo na sa loob ng isang taon, may ganitong mga baha, may mga ganitong mga ulan, may mga ganitong flooding. Kasi the variance from year to year is not so much eh. Kung anong nangyari noong 2023, most likely may mauuli sa 2024. Because what happened in 2023 was more or less what happened in 2022 and so on and so forth. You can go back to the birth of this country. There are certain constants. We are where we are in the global location. Dito talagang lugar natin. Alam na natin na pinagdadaanan ng Pilipinas by virtue of its location. Alam na natin yung mga lugar na tatamaan. Alam na natin yung mga lugar na maapektuhan yung tao. Alam na rin natin ang cycle ng weather at panahon sa ating bansa. Alam na natin kung ano yung tatamaan ng mga ganitong changes. So we all have this data, one part of the government, and should have already informed another part of the government. And based on the constants, alam na natin these are ways to go around what we cannot stop. Yung mitigation, sinasabi kong yung bawas. When we say mitigation, yung alam nating tatama, pero ang sabi na natin is, pagsasapakin ka, di ba? Alam mong tatama sa'yo yung kamao eh. Pero there are ways to absorb the blow. You can turn your head when the blow is hitting you. So, it's not going to be hurt as much. Parang ganun ang style dito eh. Alam nating may tatama, ang sa atin lang is what do we do about it? Parang ganun, no? You plan. You anticipate. Kasi weather and climate are not something that happens in a flash eh. Kaya nga may weather prediction. We have weather forecasting. It's a science. Measurable eh. And economic planning is here. It takes us half a year to plan for next year. From the figures given by government agencies to the debates on what projects are good or not for a particular year. Diba? We debate or spend so much to get the most bang out of the Philippine taxpayers' peso. So, these are not unknown. Hindi natin, alam natin lahat yan. These are, we expect government to be experts on certain aspects of governance. That's reason why they're government, di ba? So we have all this data that's year to year darating, like climate change, and yun na nga, it's already been forecasted na El Nino will come. Di ba? And but we should not only give this responsibility to the government, tayo din. Alam na natin na these things are annual, these things are happen, these things are inevitable by virtue of our location, our place in the planet. Diba? Alam na natin yan. Bakit natin why are we always acting in surprise when these things happen? Taong-taong nangyayari yan eh. Taong-taong umuulan ng malakas, taong-taong nagbabaha. Pero mo in Japan. Japan suffered a grave earthquake. But they know how to respond because it's already something ingrained in their system to respond to earthquakes, tsunamis. Diba? Oh, andito si 𝗕𝗟ጽ𝗴𝗴𝗲 from Japan. She knows what I'm talking about. Kung gaano ka-resilient ang Japanese people when it comes to natural disasters. And they're worse, They're in a worse position. Volcanic. They suffer more earthquakes than us. They suffer more tsunamis than us. And their infrastructure is much more vulnerable. Alam naman natin they have nuclear reactors. Diba? Ganon. So, they have bigger stakes and they're able to adjust their, culture and habits. Diba? So, ganon din tayo, mga Pilipino. May mga, with or without government, with or without for ourselves, for our families, yung mga communities natin. Alam na natin yung mga paulit-ulit nangyari sa taon and we all know that, to some way or another, our communities are affected. Kung anong epekto kada taon, alam na natin ang tatama sa ating kanya-kanyang communities. So kung ang communities natin ay tinatamaan ng walang tubig sa poso, we should have some sort of, for emergencies, community water storage. Diba? Mga ganon. Alam na natin yung needs ng ating particular communities on particular emergencies. Taon-taon niya. And the solution, I think, should start from us. Or at least tayo mismo, wag na natin antayin na, diba? Because there's only so much to go around. Hindi naman infinite ang resources ng government. Kung anong kulang dyan, ipangungutang yan. May tubo pa yan. Diba? Tayo na lang, kung kaya naman natin, magkusa na tayo. Alam na natin yung problema, tayo nang sumagot. Yung self-sufficiency, self-resiliency. This is not to excuse the role of government in helping you. No? May trabaho talaga sila. But again, that's not an excuse for you not to do to help yourselves. To help ourselves when the disaster strikes. We are ready for it. Diba? Siguro, aspirational that we get a government that can fully address kung ano man problema at any particular disaster. Fully, and you don't have to think about it. But that's not here yet. Wala pa yan dito ngayon. It's a dream. Pinapangarap pa lang. We're all working towards that. But meantime, habang wala pa dito yung perfect government na iniisip natin, diba? The perfect leadership, the perfect system, you need a bit of self-help. Tulungan mo sarili mo. Tulungan natin sarili natin. And that's what I'm thinking. This upcoming El Nino is just an example of, as a country, diba, our solutions must be found in ourselves. Because, like I said, maraming mas may kailangan pa ng tulong ng gobyerno. Kung medyo naangat-angat ka ng konti, ikaw, sarili mo kaya mong tulungan, let the government help the most needy, target the most vulnerable communities, the most helpless communities. While us, na medyo nakakaluwag ng konti, can deploy our own resources to help ourselves when the time comes. Diba? Hindi ko sinasabing wag natin singilin sa gobyerno ang obligasyon nila. Diba? But siguro, let's just not be passive, helpless citizens. Wag naman ganun. We should not be government dependent na parang, diba, iasa na lang natin lahat sa kanila. We could do a bit of self-help, self-reliance. Actually, I'm a libertarian at heart. Alam mo sabihin ng libertarian? Less government ako eh. Mas gusto kong pabayaan ako ng gobyerno, sarili ko. Buntot ko, hila ko. Diba? That I can help myself, help my neighbors, be kind to them, contribute to the general effort or general welfare of my community. Ganun ang concept ng libertarian. Pag gusto kong tumulong, kusa sa akin. But again, ayaw kong padikta sa gobyerno kung paano ko tutulong. Diba? Libertarian. But again, it's something you need to study. Pero bago mo, before you venture into the other parts of that, I recommend you do a bit of reading, yung mga ganong kung anong philosophy na yun. So anyway, yun, is na oras, no? Discussing El Nino. Kung may, I suggest, if you find yourself very concerned about El Nino, barangays everywhere, kung may nakakarinig sa ating mga nasa barangay o nakikinig sa ating programa nga sa barangay, if you can, magpulong-pulong na kayo, magplano na kayo around the concept or the idea that when the time comes na pumasok na yung drought, lack of water, rolling brownouts, meron kayong fallback. Diba? Oh, hello, Shemni Aniol from Scam Alert Philippines. Good evening sa'yo, pare. You're doing good work. Sana maraming makinig sa'yo at mas mababawasan yung naloloko sa ating mga kapwa Pilipino. Gerald Ramil, good evening sa'yo. So anyway, ganun. Yung mga barangays have to move now. Huwag na kayo mag-antay ng pondo galing sa gobyerno. This early pa lang magplano na kayo because really weather mitigation is a very, hindi naman kailangan ng masyadong can be as simple as having a community water storage or meron kayong plano in case na mawalang kuryente. You have some sort of emergency protocol pag may sugatan, how you will, maganon. Planning that, or yung mga crops, this early pa lang, if you can already harvest or already protect them from El Nino, isipin nyo na ano yung mga resilient plants na mga medyo hardy sa mga hot weather to rotate your crops. Pahingayin nyo muna yung lupa instead of planting again kaagad, no? So yun, those are the things that you can think about. Pero ang focus ko talaga, or at least ang pinaka nakikita kong isa sa mga solution natin so far as politicians are concerned, yung National Land Use Plan. We need that. National Land Use Law, if we can, no? Kasi marami sa mga problema natin is a simple case of organization, a simple case of proper management of our land use, land resources. Hindi lang kasi tama pagka, ang condition natin, bara-bara, kanya-kanya tayo. We've been used to doing our own thing. There's no system to maximize our land use resources. And I think we need to implement that. So anyway, gusto kong pasalamat sa mga sumubaybay sa Pugad Vloggers. Thank you so much. As you know, Happy New Year sa inyo as I greeted your past two programs. We're looking forward. I wish I could have greeted this new usapan with something brighter, but that's it. Nagbigay sa atin ang balita that El Nino is coming and we have to anticipate, no? And we should be smarter about it. Binabati ko yung mga kasama ko dito sa Pugad Vloggers, sila Doc Ethel Pineda, Maricar Serrano, Professor Van Ibiernas, Atty. Tom Berenguer, Harold Tan, Orion Perez, and of course Mark Lopez. Also, I'd like to greet my family, my wife Wilma, my two kids Grayson and Sophia, my mother Vilma, kung nanonood ka maha, hello, my sisters Nancy, Maureen and Mildred. Likewise, happy birthday to my brother-in-law, Tofi Runas. Happy birthday, bro, no, sa iyo. My office mates at the Clark Task Force, Chief Sunny, Chief James, Chief Jean, Iskal Maricar, also my colleagues there at the IACAT, as well as my office mates in OCP Caloocan. So anyway, mga kapugad, no, yung DZRJ, we have programs each hour. We have a replay. So mga nakikinig sa team replay dyan sa amin. In the morning, good morning sa inyo. Salamat sa pagsubaybay niyo sa aming programa sa umaga. And I hope you have a good breakfast and have a great day ahead of you. Yung mga nasa YouTube, hello. Salamat sa inyong pag-like, share, at subscribe sa aming programa. Kami rin po ay nasusubaybayan sa Streama app, channel 224 on cable. And our two other programs coming is Oras ng Himala, which is a religious program, followed by Kampi with our Tokayo Bernard Tan. Also a shout out to other programs, yung kay Ira Panganiban, free speech yata yung kanyang program. Yun. So anyway, I hope the program has been entertaining or informative sa inyo until next week sa akin, no? Para for tomorrow I think si kaibigang Mark Lopez. Anyway, this is Attorney Darwin Cañete. Thank you so much for joining me, as well as thank you sa staff diyan sa DZRJ for helping us bring the program to you here on radio, as well as on social media, the Facebook page of DZRJ and our YouTube channel. So this is Attorney Darwin Cañete. Thank you and good night.
Pugad Vloggers, ang kurap titirisin sa loob sa bayan. Vloggers. Pugad Vloggers.
The views and comments of the hosts and guests are not necessarily those of the station.